They're going to tell you things like you just be happy with what you have. Well, what I have isn't enough. Or what I have is $500 a month too much to get any services. So now what? And so you're in these like, do I live in absolute poverty until my child reaches a position where everything is based on their income? Or do I go the opposite direction? And we chose the opposite direction because trying to maintain some crazy level to get my son state services that sometimes are just subpar didn't make sense.
Welcome to the Secrets to Abundant Living podcast. Your guide on this journey is Amy Sylvis, ready to unlock the keys to a life of true abundance. We're diving into everything from financial freedom and optimal health to meaningful relationships, geographic freedom, and everything in between. It's about creating a life rich in experiences, purpose, and joy. Get ready for empowering conversations, expert insights, and real-life stories that inspire you to live abundantly. If you're ready for the secrets to an abundant life, hit that subscribe button now, and let's get started.
Secrets to Abundant Living podcast community, welcome to another amazing episode. For those that are new, my name is Amy Sylvis. I am the founder and principal of Sylvis Capital, and we connect investors to passive investing opportunities in commercial real estate. But why we're here today is to get to know and talk to my amazing friend, Angel Williams. Angel has, I feel like I've known you, 3 or 4 years?
Little bit.
Yeah. And I was just telling her before we started recording, her story is going to be something that you haven't heard before, most likely. And that's why I'm so excited to have her. I've been pestering her. I'm like, Angel, did you schedule yet? Do you schedule yet? This podcast is all about finding abundance, and it may not be what society tells you it is. You may have to go on your own journey and define it and go after it. And I think you're going to really fall in love with Angel's mindset and with just how she's decided to create a life for herself and her family. So anyway, without totally ruining your introduction, Angel, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Absolutely. This is going to be fun.
Tell us more about yourself. Give us your intro.
All right. So I went to college like everybody else because that's what you're told to do. Got my bachelor's degree. Couldn't really find a job. Got a master's degree. Wound up moving to Lubbock to be with my now husband, Jason. He was finishing up his doctorate. And so we were in Lubbock for a while he was doing that. And the whole thing is actually funny. He's going to be angry if I share this, but it's okay. Okay. So one day I told him, I said, look, I am 25 years old and my clock is ticking and my looks aren't going to be around forever. If we're going to do this, we're going to do this.
I love it. That is so you.
The funniest part is like, he was already working at that point to save up to get me a ring and I didn't know. And so it was a few weeks later, I had interviewed for my very first teaching job, like with a college. And I had my interview and came home and he had some champagne for us or sparkling wine, malted liquor, whatever it was.
Yeah.
It was what we could afford at the time, right? And my ring was in the bottom of the glass. And what he said was that however it turned out, we were either celebrating or drowning my sorrows. And when I get to the bottom of the glass, we were getting engaged.
I love Jason. For those of you who don't know Jason, make sure to follow him on LinkedIn, but he's so awesome. What a great story.
Yeah. And so that was really, we had already gotten a house, but he finished up his doctorate and we never even discussed selling the house. It just became our first rental. And that was what started our real estate investing journey. After that, I was a teacher for a while. My first year teaching was at a small Catholic school. And then I taught K-5 music at a public school for a little bit. He finished up in 2006. We got pregnant that same year. We got married that January. And by, I don't know, probably that summer, we were having a baby. And then we moved to Wichita Falls. And I was pregnant and I walked into the local college, the local JC, and it turned out they had an econ teacher that was having some Alzheimer's issues, starting to display some symptoms. And so they needed someone to replace that particular instructor. And so they hired me and said, okay, so we'll give them a walk this first week so you can prepare. And I was like, we don't have to do a walk. I can just come in tonight. And that was how I started teaching at that institution. Had already been teaching at Wayland for a few years at that point. And it was the same class. So it wasn't like it was a big deal that I had to prepare for it. And so that's how I got to teaching here at the local college. Jason was working as an R&D engineer, had our first kid, had our second child. He had a rare genetic condition we didn't know till he was 19 months old. And that was really where things had the necessity of changing. So, and we had 2 more children after those 2. So having a special needs child does not have to be the end of your childbearing unless you want it to be. But it's absolutely your choice. It's not a choice that is made for you. It's one that you get to make.
I love that you say that. I love that. So you say, Angel, that things change by necessity. Can you tell us a little bit more about Anson? Can you tell us background there and what needed to change?
Sure. So when Anson was diagnosed, there were 742 cases diagnosed in the world. It doesn't have a cute name, which these aren't really cute names, but like cancer, diabetes, or something like that, because it's just really rare. So what he has is a duplication on the long arm of the 15th chromosome. So the condition is called Dup 15q.
Yep.
So it doesn't have a cute name. It's just literally what it is.
That right.
And it's like lots of different things can come with it. And there's like a whole array of seriousness for each condition that can come with it. I feel like we've been pretty fortunate. Yes, Anson has profound autism, but he doesn't have like the frequency of seizure or the type of seizure as a lot of other kids do that have the same condition. So we've been fairly fortunate there. Things could change, but I feel like we've been pretty fortunate with that piece of it. He's probably got like 150 words, but it gets better. Man, when I talk about like how fortunate we've been, it's like, and this goes with that abundance piece of it, just the right people just come into our universe. We're not even like, we're on wait lists and stuff, but the people that come into your life is just amazing. And then to piggyback a little bit off of that too, like the reason why we had to start looking for other avenues of income creation was because we knew that with his condition being so rare that he wasn't an auto qualifier. So what's an auto qualifier? An auto qualifier is a list of conditions that you just are auto qualified in for Medicaid waivers and other service programs, federal and state. Well, we're not an auto qualifier. So we had to qualify in, I want to say it was OHI, which is other health impairment. It's really broad. And then they bring somebody in and they look and they decide if your kid's disabled enough. It's really pretty wild. And we were on those programs for a little bit here and there. But one day before we were on the full Medicaid waiver, we were on a buy-in program. Jason and I just crunched the numbers and it was like, what are we really saving? Because we could only earn up to, I want to say it was like 106,000. And at that point, you're like, oh, that's a lot. But at that point in time, we were raising my 2 youngest siblings. So there were 6 of us in the household. And I want to say it was 106,000. And it was like, I was giving up the possibility of doing anything with what I could provide, like with education and teaching and having my own position, because I couldn't really earn anything. Because I was still teaching for Wayland and it wasn't a whole lot. It was maybe 4 classes a year, but like the most I could make was like 10 to 15. And after that, we had the potential of being pushed over the top because my sister was also working here and there too. And she was part of our household. So it was like the household's income couldn't be over a certain amount. And so we just crunched the numbers and we decided it wasn't worth it. And I started doing some different work from home. And then when all of my kids were in school, I went back to teaching and I love teaching. It's fun. But there's a lot of politics there that aren't so fun. And so when I left teaching, it had nothing to do with the kids. And most of the teachers you meet in your life that stop teaching, it has 0 to do with the kids and 100% to do with the administration.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but yeah, those were the things that happened. And like when we went private insurance only, they covered his ABA for a long time. And then this past year, they decided they were no longer going to cover it. And so
Is what now?
His ABA, it's like the #1 approved treatment for autism. So it's adaptive behavioral analysis, I believe.
Okay.
I may have the words wrong, but I have the words right, but the wrong order. But it's really one of the, I think it's one of the main approved ones. There might be one more, but I don't know a whole lot about it. It's like a sun approach maybe, but it's very expensive because it's one-on-one therapy for 30 to 40 hours a week. So with insurance, it was about 110 or 120,000 a year. Now we've been working on getting additional streams of income for quite some time now. So when insurance denied him and I told ABA, can you put us on a self-pay model? I don't think they took me seriously at first because it took a while for them to actually present one to us. And when they did, I was like, okay, so most self-pay, it's 50% of what the insurance price is.
Right.
And so I got that down, but it's still it just upped a little bit. So we're paying $1,500 a week for Anson's ABA. And that's number one, it's not sustainable. But
Right.
number two, we wouldn't even be able to do it while we're fighting insurance if we hadn't worked to create those additional streams of income. And it's not just with real estate. We do have real estate, but we also have some oil and gas and some vineyards. And we've been able to diversify amongst a lot of things because we started in residential real estate and then went to multifamily. Because if we hadn't started really anywhere, just start somewhere. But if we hadn't started, we wouldn't have had the ability to diversify later and to be able to pay $1,500 a week for freaking ABA therapy because insurance has decided they're denying it.
So your son is born with a genetic condition. You didn't know ahead of time. You got this diagnosis. To support him, he needs a lot of care. He needs a lot of support. Some of it's covered by the state. You have to fight for it. Others, obviously, not covered by insurance. You have other children, income. You'd really have to, it's a lot of money. So figuring out how to meet your son's needs, your family's needs, hopefully throw in there taking care of yourself, your own mental health, your own physical health, right? Living an abundant life, a quality of life for yourself really necessitated thinking outside of maybe what we've all been taught in school or by society of go to school, get a good job. That just, we talked to some people. I was just talking at a mastermind where people are intentionally creating a different life. But for some of us, there just wasn't a choice. And I just love that you're so open about this journey because there are other people that just don't think that there's another option, but you're proof that this can happen.
Yeah, well, it's hard too because most of the people that have these things in their lives, which tons of families have special needs family members,
Yeah,
they don't all talk about them,
right.
but there's not a whole lot of families out there that don't somewhere, cousin, aunt, uncle, somebody
Yes.
is connected to someone with special needs.
Yeah.
It's just, again, it's just not talked about very much. But when you're trying to get advice from your friends and family don't have the advice you need.
Mm.
They're going to tell you things like, you just be happy with what you have. Well, what I have isn't enough. Or what I have is $500 a month too much to get any services. So now what? And so you're in these like, do I live in absolute poverty until my child reaches a position where everything is based on their income? Or do I go the opposite direction?
Nope.
And we chose the opposite direction because trying to maintain some crazy level to get my son state services that sometimes are just subpar didn't make sense.
So how did you break out of that mold? Because you and your husband, for anyone that doesn't know you and Jason, you all are incredibly intelligent, highly educated, but sometimes that system can make you think that there's just one pathway. So where did this idea of creating another stream of income come from? And what gave you the mindset of, hey, we can give this a shot?
Well, it was really Jason. And which is really funny because if you, like, when you start hearing about his family, like, his dad has a doctorate. He has a doctorate. Like, I have my master's degree. His mom is in math. Like, all of his family are well educated. And you would think that it's all about we get educated and we have jobs.
Yeah.
But Jason said that even when he was like in Scouts way back when, he was like, I'm going to be a millionaire someday. And so he always had that thought of, I'm going to be a millionaire someday. And having that in the background, and he's always been super supportive of me, like no matter what I want to do. And that alone gives you so much freedom because it doesn't really matter what you do. When you have a support system in place, even when you mess up, you're not really messing up because they're going to comfort you and they're going to pick you up and help you get back to where you need to be to go after it again.
I love that you say that. That is so Jason. And I love that you mentioned that mentality of not going at it on your own and having that support system because it's hard enough to have a child with special needs, right? It's hard enough to have other children that obviously have needs and to wonder how you're going to care for them. But to take this leap that's hard for people, even without children with special needs or this necessity, is really hard. And to know that, and that's part of the journey, right? Like part of creating other streams of income, you're going to fail. That's part of the thing. You're not going to do it perfectly. So to know that net is there to catch you is just, I love that so much. Wow. That's really profound. So what has this journey been like for you? I know it's a little bit of a big turn.
It sucks.
Mm.
It's hard. I can still remember crying because I'm old school. I was raised by our grandparents. We're the end of the Williams name. Now, our girls are very independent. They could very well have their husbands take the Williams name.
Yeah.
But by all traditional traditions, we're the end of the Williams line. It ends with us. And so I couldn't give him a son that could carry on the family name. And that was really, really hard for me. And so I was crying one night and I told him, I said, I'm sorry, I couldn't give you a son that could carry the name. And I'm sorry. And he told me, he
No.
said, no. What if it wasn't Anson that was given to us, but us that were given to Anson? And that was one of those flip floppers. It's like, oh, wait. And it just changed the whole perspective of it.
I'm so impressed with this mindset piece. I know you and I have been talking just over the past few days about mindset, and you and I both have a nice history working with a mindset coach, Trevor McGregor, who helps us with that. But it is so incredible, Angel, how you can find abundance, or you can find, kind of, you said that shift of maybe this isn't happening to us, but it's happening for us. Maybe the traditional, it's an honor to pass down our family name. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but what if there's a different lens from which we can view this? It's
Well,
not,
I don't think it would have been the same kind of like burn the boats. Let's do this. If it hadn't been for the fact that we didn't just need to care for his needs, but we had 3 typical girls that we also have to care for.
yes, yes.
And so those things, like while they are heart shattering and gut punching and all those horrible things, when they're happening, like I think of the abundance piece of it too as it's not that they're not horrendous and they don't hurt. It's that when you are in abundance, you're still going to react. I'm still going to yell, scream, cry, maybe a day, maybe 2, maybe a week. I'm going to be angry at people. I'm going to be cussing up a storm. Like I'm still going to do all of those things. But because we are in a place of abundance, I know that I've got the right people and things in place that it's survivable. It may not be happy,
Yeah.
but it's survivable. And
Yeah.
I think that that's another mind shift in abundance, that being in abundance doesn't mean you're happy 24/7 and it is all rainbows and unicorns. It means that when the crap comes at you, you've got the right toilet paper to attack the situation.
And there's our podcast clip. That's the name of the episode. No, I think a lot of people have a hard time holding those two things at once, right? That things aren't perfect, but we can still feel like we're living in abundance. This life that we have isn't exactly as we designed or what we hoped for, but we're still happy, or we still find immense gratitude. Already in this episode, we're 10, 15 minutes in. No, truly, but you said how fortunate we are. I get goosebumps thinking about it, but how fortunate we are that we've had the right people and the right resources at the right time. That's incredible. How many people feel, look, rightfully so, like this happened to us. This is really difficult. We have all these other considerations other people don't have to think about. Yet here you are going, wow, how fortunate we are that we've had this. How fortunate that Jason has this mindset where he supports you, the ideas that you have to get after it. How that changes everything when you view life through that lens.
Well, I didn't think about like when I was in hand surgery and I needed a breathing treatment. And I was like, I don't want one because I hate the way they make me shake. And then I'm like, wait a second, Jason, text Amy. She gave me the name of something that's going to help me and I'm not going to have to shake. And he gave it to the guy that was in front of my room. And that's what they ordered for me. And it was amazing. I was like, okay, we've got the name of this. I need to get this, which I told you I was going to get it at that time and I just never did. But in that room, I was able to call on the right things in my life to fix the situation without having to go through something that I really hate.
It is so cool to be able to show up for somebody when they're in need, right? It's really, really cool. I don't know if folks are like me, but I sometimes have a hard time asking for help, but you forget that you're robbing other people of the delight to be able to show up for a friend. And I'm like, oh, my buddy Angel just went through surgery. She's having a hard time breathing. I know acutely what that's like. I'm so happy I can provide something to help. So tell me more. I haven't got so many things I want to ask you. I know. So here you are, you and I are a similar age. We're in a similar industry. How do you define abundance? Have you had that conversation with your family? Is it run it and gun it and we're just going to be grateful for what we have? What does abundance mean for you all?
So I think that abundance means different things for each person.
Okay.
I think at certain times of your life, you are 100% going to say abundance is money. That my abundance is based on how much money I earn, how much money I have in my bank account, however, whatever it is. I think that we all go through that stage. And then I think we go through a stage of abundance is experiences.
Mm.
How many experiences can we have? And having a special needs child, some of those get limited. Me being afraid to fly, those things get limited. So you find ways around it. We got a big Sprinter van sitting out in front of our house for the trip that we're going to be taking to Salt Lake City so that everybody can go.
Yeah.
And we try and get private chefs when we go places during the summer because that's something that my kids will get to experience that a lot of people don't get to experience.
Yeah.
So you find different experiences when you're up against different obstacles because you still want to have the experiences. My kids may not go to Europe with me, and we may, who knows? But it may or may not be all of us because I don't know how Anson will do on a plane if he can fly, who knows? But not everybody has to have the same experiences.
Mhm.
And so you start looking for different cool experiences so that if that's your lean on abundance, then you get to have abundance and experiences. Maybe you feel that abundance is all based in familial love. And so you make sure that your family feels loved. When I was teaching, that was one of the things that was really big on my heart is I wanted my students to know that I love them. And that's why it was so important to me to be able to pronounce their names right. Because I know that there were some other teachers that I taught with that were like, I'm never going to say that name. And they would be like on the mic calling names. I don't get that name right, but come on down here, blah, blah, blah. And I was like,
Yeah.
wow. Because your name is your identity a lot of times. And I may know you're like, yeah, of course it is. It's on your ID card. But like, it's literally culturally who you are,
Yeah.
especially when it has different kinds of pronunciations or spellings. And so I worked really hard to get their names because, again, it's just important to me. I would give them side hugs before every test because I wanted them to know I love them. Because especially in those high poverty families and some of those very ethnic and cultural communities, having that kind of love is abundance. So abundance can be so many different things, just so many different people. And it's a mix of those things sometimes. And so you just have to, I guess it's kind of like those love languages. You have to just let people experience abundance in a lot of different ways and then let them put together their own package of what it is.
Mm. So how do you define it for you right now? I know it can change, but we asked Ian
No,
Williams, what's abundance?
knowing that when things get hard, I still don't have to worry. Yes, I'm going to get angry. I'm going to cuss and throw a fit. But at the end of the day, we're going to figure it out. There hasn't been one thing that we weren't able to figure out. Everything is figure out.
That's huge. Living in a space, again, I don't know Anson personally, but I can imagine where there is uncertainty. His life has been uncertain, whether it's getting the services he needs, whether it's his quality of life, whether it's his medical status. The peace that can come with, we don't know what's on the horizon, but we know we have what we need to endure it. I've never thought of abundance that way. And now I don't think I can think of a better definition than that. No, truly, I think you just gave me a big aha moment because it's one thing to try to control stuff, but the truth is we have to surrender. There's just so much. It is February of 2025 and I'm in LA. We had crazy fires. We've seen planes fall out of the sky. There's been a lot going on. And secret time, there's not a darn thing any of us can do about it. It isn't within our control. So to say, whether it's your personal life or just what's going on in society, I can't control that, but I know I have what I'll need to be able to get through it. Have you ever thought about having multiple streams of income? Instead of relying on just one stream of income where you're trading your time for money, how would you like to free up more of your time and live a more abundant life? As a listener of the show, you're invited to attend one of our upcoming trainings where I'll give you an inside look into how you can add passive income and get all the other perks of recession-resistant real estate investing without the headaches of being a landlord. I'll also be sharing some hidden mistakes to avoid and the criteria I personally look for when evaluating potential investment opportunities. To reserve your seat for free, go to sylviscapital.com/webinar. Again, that special link to reserve your seat for free is sylviscapital.com/webinar. I look forward to seeing you on the training. And now back to the show. You're
I
awesome.
mean, that's why I said I'm still gonna cuss and I'm still gonna throw a fit. I'm still gonna be angry.
It's okay.
But once I get over all of that, there is nothing that's not figure outable. And I tell that to my kids too. I'm like, you're never gonna make a decision in your life that's gonna make me stop loving you. There is never a decision that means that you should end your life. Like
Mm.
nothing you will ever do is gonna carry that kind of power with it. And because we see so many things and so many kids, like with suicide rates and stuff coming the way they're
Yeah.
coming, and especially in families with special needs,
Mm.
because kids feel left out, they feel like the glass child or all of those things. And so those are conversations that I have, especially with our oldest, on a regular basis, that there is nothing you could do that would, one, make us stop loving you, or two, be a reason for you to no longer be around.
I'm imagining being one of your students, in maybe from a family that was broken, or maybe parents are doing the best they can, but they're just trying to make ends meet and maybe don't have enough time to pay attention, and how amazing it must have been to be one of your students. I happen to have a privilege of meeting one of your students. He's a busy guy, so he's not able to join us on the pod, but yeah, that's amazing that you're able to have so much talk about abundance, such an overflow of love, Angel, from your family for the kids that you taught. Even in the real estate space, you've got this behind you. You hold summits where you teach people all sorts of things. I go to your meetup once a week where you're teaching people and pouring into people. I would imagine that's a big part of your abundance as well. You're humble. You may not admit it, but that's a part of you, right? But it's a part of you to
No, it
give
is.
that. It gives your life meaning, I would imagine. And you like to see people grow, I would think.
Well, I truly enjoy helping people. Like,
Yeah.
when it's students, I like seeing the light bulb come on. I like getting their care. I like when a kid comes up to me and says, "Hey, miss, my hoodie pocket ripped. Can you help me?" And knowing that I'll take some time and sew it up and it's probably going to be ready by the end of the day. But it was little things like that that I got to show them how much I cared, and I got to be a difference in their lives. And so that's what I miss about teaching K through 12 is
Yeah.
getting to make a difference and be able to see the difference quickly. That's cool. But even outside of that, by staying in the education space, I still get to make a difference in people's lives.
Yeah.
I may not see it as quick, but I do eventually still get to see it. And it's still just as cool. And it's a different kind of group of people. They want to be there. They want to learn. They're not mandated to be there like public school. It's a different group of people. And so it's still neat. And I still get to see my kids around town. They'll still come out from behind counters and give me hugs and ask me how I'm doing. And I still get to see them. So that's neat.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, I'm always going to have a teacher heart. And I'm always going to want to help people and teach them what I know and help them along on their own path.
Can we talk about mindset coaching?
Okay.
If you're comfortable, you don't have to. This is off the cuff, but it looks like this is something you're getting into. And it's quite obvious why so many would be able to benefit from learning from you. Can you tell us a bit more about the vision?
Around at different programs is it's almost cookie cutter.
Mm.
So it's like, this is who you have to be if you want these outcomes. Or this is who you have to be if you want these outcomes. Oh, you want to raise capital? You need to be an extrovert that's doing this and this and sending these after every time you meet somebody and making sure you have your CRM up to date. And that's not how I feel at all. Even to the point of like, you have to be uncomfortable to grow. I don't believe in that either. I know you're like, what? But like when I ran a marathon, I don't think there was never a run where I was like sore because I don't like to hurt. I would do 2-minute run, 2-minute walk. My best was 12.5-minute miles. And I don't remember ever being like sore where I couldn't walk. And I know there were plenty of people out there that after a run, they'd have to do a recovery run because they could barely walk.
Right.
I never went through that. And I still finished a marathon. Like, you don't have to get like super uncomfortable, like crying, having panic attacks. You don't have to do all those things to grow. So that's where I come from it, or come at it from, is I would rather see you work with who you are, find your strengths, help you build your strengths and how to operate within those parameters where you're comfortable, and then grow your parameters, as opposed to thinking the only way that you can grow your parameters is by being outside of them and tugging them. That's a lot of work. It's way easier to push than it is to pull something along, in my opinion.
I love that. This, use a California term, this vibe that you figure out how to do things on your terms while staying true to yourself, as opposed to having to morph into something or force yourself into a mold. That really is, we see that in so many aspects of your life. And I mean, that's what attracts me to you. I don't feel like I ever have to put on airs around you. No, truly, I don't. I feel like, and I'm sure a lot of people give you this feedback, that I can just be me, whatever that looks like. You and I talking about perimenopause on LinkedIn and hormones and all that. We're just being us, right? Some people might be like, that's not ladylike. No one wants to hear about that. But when I'm around Angel, I know I can just be me, and that's okay. So the fact that you can help other people through coaching grow, but maybe it doesn't have to be grow into something that society tells them, but they can stay true to themselves and still grow and not suffer. That's a game changer. I'm really excited that you're doing this. Wow. Where can
I'm
people find
excited.
out more info? Yeah.
So we don't have our website completed yet. I have the domain. It's actually coachwithangel.com. So we got really fortunate with getting that. And other than that, we're just building it out. I'm hoping to have something put together in the next week or so to start running some ads, and we'll see where it goes. I've done some stuff like kind of clandestine with people here and there, but I've never formally said, okay, I'm going to do this. And I'm formally saying, okay, hey, I'm going to do this.
Beautiful. We'll put that link in the show.
And it's actually called Unstoppable You. So yeah.
I love that. So what advice, as we wrap this up, Angel, for people that want more abundance in their life, maybe they're not fortunate enough, like you and I, to have I have no other choice. Like, this is a burn the boats. I have to do it. Maybe people are just steady Eddie, but they know they can do more. They can live more abundantly. What advice would you give those folks?
So if you are that kind of a steady Eddie person, you're already familiar with commitment, and just make a decision and fully commit to it. It doesn't have to be 120% every day, because 1%, a half a percent, a quarter of a percent every day still adds up. So be steady, be your steady Eddie, just commit to it and do it. Like, that was how the weekly meetup happened. I knew that if I wasn't doing a meetup on Mondays, my week wouldn't start until probably Wednesday, and I was cutting out halfway through Friday. So Marvelous Mondays was born out of necessity of me needing a reason to get started on Monday. And it's not always amazing. I'm not always happy to be there, but we made it as easy as possible. My green screen is literally at the head of my bed. I am currently sitting in the middle of my bed. I've got my lights up. Like, this is my studio, and this is where I do everything from, because I knew it had to be easy. Because if it's too hard, if there's too many obstacles, I'm not going to do it. And that's just knowing what my own skill set is and staying comfortable with my own parameters and pushing out, as opposed to being outside trying to pull those babies. So I made it as easy as possible, and I just committed to doing it. And we've been doing it since January of 21 now. And it's just, that's why I say, like, you're steady Eddie that doesn't want to get real uncomfortable. Find one thing to commit to and just commit to it. And then you're going to add things along the way, and you're going to commit to those things. Some things you're going to stick with, some things are going to fall away. But at the end of the day, you're still further along than what you were when you decided you were going to commit to that very first thing.
In this era of white knuckling it, go hard or go home, I love the freedom and the calmness of this message, Angel, that you don't have to do something overly dramatic. And this fits right in your mathematical, brilliant mind, Angel, of just these.
You don't have to be balls to the walls all the time.
Right. Just these tiny little changes can compound. And in fact, I'm sure you would agree, I've seen this with people I admire who have done things that I think are amazing. They didn't necessarily do something dramatic. It's just this consistency of this tiny little pivot compounded over time. How freeing is that message? That, yeah, people can still get where they want to go by making that one commitment and just doing it. I'm so grateful you're my friend, Angel. I'm so grateful you showed up today to do this podcast.
I'm just happy that you asked me to be here and that you're my friend. So
yeah, you're incredible. I'm excited to continue to cheer you on, and please keep being you. We need all the Angel in our lives. You're awesome.
Sorry, my pinky's still sitting out there. It hasn't been a whole lot yet.
Everyone, make sure to visit coachwithangel.com. Can they find you on LinkedIn as well? Is that the best place to find you?
Yeah, that's probably the best place till the website is fully functional.
Yep.
Right now, you're going to be like, what the heck is this? Because it's just got filler stuff. Ipsum or whatever it is out there. But we do have the domain, and we are going to be doing something with it. So.
Love it. Thank you, my friend. Thanks, everyone. Have an amazing day. We appreciate you.
Okay.
Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Secrets to Abundant Living podcast. We hope you found inspiration and valuable insights that will empower you on your journey towards abundance. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback means the world to us, and it helps others discover the secrets to an abundant life too. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn, Amy Sylvis. Keep striving for your goals, nurturing your relationships, and embracing the adventure that is life. Until next time, we wish you an abundantly fulfilling day.